Hey there. So we are going to learn in this video how to build a CLI tool, that is command line interface tool. We'll be using Python for this, but you can use other languages as well. So we will build a simple CLI tool for managing contacts. Let's see how it works. Okay, so first you type contacts dash dash help, or you can simply type dash h, and it will give you the usage and the description and the arguments and options. And this is a copyright, so something, don't worry about that, we'll talk about that later. So for let's try to add a contact. So contacts dash a or double dash add name, let's say Senku for example, and number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, successfully added. Let's try to add another contact. For that, let's do different way, that is contacts dash a dash dash name, let's say for example, and number is 987654. Successfully added. Now let's try to search for Senku. So contacts dash s dash dash name Senku, and you get the name Senku, number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So we found Senku. Now let's delete this contact. So contacts dash dash delete dash dash name Senku. If you provide only name, it will say please provide both name and number to delete. So type name Senku dash dash number, what was his number, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and successfully deleted. So here it is. Now let's learn how to build a simple CLI tool using Python. So we have created a directory here called contacts, and in that we have a file contacts.py. So first we'll start by importing the libraries that we need. So first one is import argparse. Import argparse. So argparse is a Python library for parsing the command line arguments, and also for the positional and optional arguments, and what you saw dash dash help. This will also include that. And the other one we need to import is SQLite 3. Okay, sorry, not this one. It's SQLite 3, this one. So we need SQLite 3 for databases, for managing the database. Now let's create a class for the contacts to add. Okay, so class people and def underscore init underscore. I'm assuming you already know how to create the function and all. So you pass self, you pass name and number when you create any object, and what it will do is assign a variable called name to that name, and self dot number equals to number. And we need one more to show the object, so for that we use underscore underscore reper underscore self return an object of class people. Okay, so I'm going to use a type of formatting, that is by using question mark. Okay, and the way you do that is just provide question mark where you want the data, and then provide the arguments in a tuple. So self dot name self dot number. Okay. Also, you can also do the curly braces formatting like this, but like the question mark better. There's one problem in question mark. If you want to provide only one argument, that has to be in a tuple, so you'll have to include a comma even when you have one argument. So it's confusing sometimes, but I still like doing the question mark formatting. So you have that. Now let's connect to the database. So con equals to CLI 3 dot connect. Now there are two things you can do. One is you provide colon memory colon and do this. If you do memory, then it will save the database in RAM as temporary, and it will always create a new database whenever you run the program. So instead of that, we'll use contacts.db. So it will create the database if it does not exist, and if the database exists, it will just connect to that database. Okay, now we create a cursor for that connection. So c equals to con.cursor. Okay, now we use that cursor to execute the statements. For example, c.execute. You can write anything, any query in between for executing that query. So what we are gonna do is create table if not exists. Okay. Sorry, if not exists contacts. Okay, and you provide name. The type of name is text, and it should be unique because I want the names of contacts to be unique. And then another column you need is number, and the number needs to be integer. It's done. So I used if not exists, but it's optional. You don't need to use it. But if you create an executable from this script file, which we are going to do, then if you don't use if not exists, then you'll get an error that the database is not found. So you need to use if not exist. Now let's create some functions for adding the contact, for searching contact, and for removing the contacts. So the first function we want to create is add contact. Okay, we're going to pass an object of the class people. Okay, so you don't want to close the connection every time, so we use something like with con. So whatever you write in the indentation, it will close after the indentation exists. So you write c.execute insert into the table name. The table name is contacts. Values, I provide the values. So we'll use the question mark formatting again for the values. So question mark, comma, question mark, and the values you want to add is people dot name and people dot number. So the function for adding contact is done. Now the next function will be for, let's say, for searching the contact. So for search contact, you provide the name only. So the argument will be name, and you don't need to use with con in this because you don't need to close the connection. So just type c.execute select star from the table name is contacts. So select star from contacts where name equals to question mark, and you want to give the name passed in the parameter. So I told you that when you use the question mark formatting, you need to pass the arguments in a tuple. So for make one, so to make one argument as a tuple, you need to add a comma after that. So it looks pretty weird, but I like to use the question mark formatting rather than the curly braces formatting. So after that, you do return c dot fetch all. What fetch all will do is return a list of all the results from c dot execute. Um, After that, we make another function that is of contact. So it's for deleting the contact, so we need to pass an object of the class people, and with con we're going to c dot execute, sorry, c dot execute, and delete from the table name is contacts, and where name, sorry, name equals to question mark, number equals to question mark, and then you want to pass the name and number. So for that you use people dot name and people dot number. So you have the three functions that you need for adding a contact, for searching a contact, and for deleting. Now what you need to do is con dot commit. You need to commit the changes that you made to the connection. So generally we use con dot close also, but if you close the database here, then whenever you use the function or call the function, you'll get an error that the database is already closed, so you cannot do any change in that database. So we don't close the connection yet, and we start making the main function. So if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals to underscore underscore main underscore underscore. So if you don't know what I'm doing, it's just like in C or C++ you have the main function. So just like that in Python you use if underscore name equals to if underscore main. So type parser. Now we'll use the rparse library. So use parser equals to rparse dot argument parser. Okay. Now we need to pass the arguments here, which will I'll explain it one by one. So first one is prog, which is the name of the program. So I'm going to use contacts. Okay. The next one is usage. I showed you in the demonstration what usage is. So usage, I'm only going to provide one line, which is which is use dash h or dash dash help. Okay, whenever you are stuck you can use that. The next one we are going to use is description. Sorry. So next one we are going to use is description, and the description will be pretty simple. You can provide any description you want. I'm going to write description, and the description is, it is basically a tool for adding, searching, and deleting a contact. So you can use a tool for adding, searching, or deleting contact. Okay, sorry, deleting contact. There you have it. So the next one we are going to use is, so the next one which we are going to use is epilogue. Sorry, epilogue. And epilogue is something that comes later. So like I can provide copyright. You can type anything in that. Usually people write copyright or something. So I'm going to write copyright, and after that you have formatter class. So formatter class, you don't need to worry about this. Argparse already has a format, and it's called raw description help formatter. Okay, so it's just multi-line format, you don't need to worry about that. And the next one we need is add help. Okay, of course you need to provide true for this. The argument pass is done. Now if we try to run this program, so just save it and then come to the terminal and write python contacts contacts.py. Nothing will happen. Okay, see, nothing will happen. So now you need to pass these arguments, or before that we need to add some arguments also. So let's add the arguments that we need. Okay, so first what we'll do is create a group of arguments. Now if we create a mutually exclusive group, what will happen is that you can only use one of those options. Okay, you cannot use both, you cannot use two or three of them. You need to use only one, and use only one of them. Okay, so for creating a group, you do group equals to parser dot add mutually exclusive group. Okay, now you need to add arguments to this group. So group dot add argument. Now the argument will be, the first one is then dash dash show. So when you need to pass an optional argument, you need to provide dash dash. Okay, or in short form you can also provide dash s. So you can use both of these uh, to call this argument, but whenever you use dash, it's an optional argument. Okay, now another argument is help. Okay, so help is equals to, you provide anything about this argument, what it will do. So I'm going to write that it is an option, sorry, it is an option for searching a contact, okay. So the next one is, okay, you need to provide the action also. Action equals to store underscore true. Okay, now there are multiple actions you can provide. I can show you the list of arguments. Okay, you can go to the site. This is all about the Argparse library, and here there are 6 built-in actions that can be triggered when an argument is encountered. So the first one is store const, store true or store false, append const, version. So for this project we'll be needing store true and store only, and I'll explain what that does. So when you use a store true, it does not need any argument basically, and what it does is it's a switch. Okay, let's see what it says here. It says a boolean value, right? So it's a boolean switch. So when I say store true, it's true by default. Okay, whenever you pass something or whenever you use that option, it's changed to true, and by default it's false. Okay, now You can also provide that by using default equals to, but default is basically false. You don't need to use that. Now we need to add another argument, that is add argument. The other one we need to add is add contact. Okay, so dash dash add dash 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 a, and the help section for this will be option for adding a contact. Okay, and the action will be store true. Sorry, needs to be in inverted commas. Okay, store true. Now the next one we need to add is group dot add. Okay, what we can do is just copy this one and paste. Okay, so the next one we need to do is delete. So let's just edit this one. Okay, so dash delete or dash D, option for deleting a contact. Okay, deleting a contact, store true. Okay, that's done. So these are the group arguments, so you can use only one of these. And now we need to do parser dot add arguments. So these will be the optional arguments, and this is not included in the groups, so you can use any one of these. So I mean, you can use multiple of these. So the first argument we need to add is dash dash name, and it's for adding the name of the contact. Okay, so dash n, and we need to provide help also. So help equals to, okay, name of the contact, and the action will be to store. Okay, so when you pass only store as an action, then it will store the argument that is passed with that option in the type that is described. So the type I'm going to describe is str. Okay, so you need the name as a string, so type equals to str, and the next argument you need is parser dot add argument, and the next argument you need is number of that contact, right? So number dash n or dash no. Okay, and the help equals to number of the contact, action is equals to store. You need to store the number also, and the type will be integer, of course, int. So you've given all the arguments. Now we need to pass these arguments, right? So for that you need to do arg equals to parser dot parse args. Okay, so the arguments are passed, and you can also provide your custom list also, like dash a and the argument that you need, like dash a and the dash dash name and whatever. So you can provide the custom list, but what we are going to do is provide the list in the terminal. So after this, let's just first test this. So control.s, save, and then use python contacts.py -h. Okay, so you get the help here, show, add, delete, name, number, get all of that. Okay, description, usage. So help is working fine, but if you're using any one of these, it won't do anything yet. So we need to pass the function for different options. So for that let's check which of the options is given. So we use if arg dot add. Okay, so these are just simple conditional statements, and you can use name. First, let's get the arguments passed in name and number. So name equals to arg dot name. Okay, and the next one is num. So num equals to arg dot num. Sorry, arg dot number, right? Yeah, arg dot number. Now name and number are both required for adding a contact. So what you can do for that is if name and num, so if both of these are true, then only we are going to add it. So if both of these are true, then people equals to, we create an object of the class people with name. What will be the name? We already have the variable for that, name and num. Okay, so the object is done, and we need to add the contact, and adding the contact is people. Okay, it's done. And now let's just print that the contact is successfully added. Done. Now what if one of these is true, one of the name and num, one of these is true and the other one is false? Then we need to do else. Let's just print that, sorry, please provide both name and number, sorry, number to add the contact. Okay, so adding the contact is done. Down the next one, let's handle the showing of contact, or you can say searching for contact. So elif arg dot show, yeah, dot show name equals to arg dot name. You have to do this every time, and then you don't need the number to search for the contact. So just do contact equals to search contact name. Okay, now you'll get a list in contact, right? So if there are no contacts with that name, the list will be empty, but still you'll get the name, you'll get the list as contact. So we need to check if there is any contact with that name or not. So what we are going to do is if len of contact, okay, len of contact is greater than 0, which means that there has to be a contact in the list, then only we are going to print the name and number of that. Okay, so print name, I'm going to use curly braces in this, I don't know why, name number. Okay, let's just use the question mark. Okay, now we need to pass the name and number so of this contact, right? So contact, now remember contact is the list of tuples, and the first argument of that tuple is, the first element of that tuple is the name, and the second element of that tuple is the number. Okay, so contact 0 0 0 0 will be the name, and the next one we are going to need is contact 0, sorry, 1. Okay, it's done. Now If the length is less than 0, which means there are no contacts with that name, so use else. Print there are no contacts, sorry, contacts with that name. Done. Now let's do the same for deleting a contact. So we need to check for delete. So if arg dot delete, get the name and number. So name equals to arg dot name, num equals to arg dot number. Now let's search if that contact exists or not. So for that, contact equals to search contact, and we're going to pass the name. Okay, if now we understand what I'm going to do, contact len of contact, sorry, len of contact is greater than 0, which means there is a contact with that name. Then we need to check if both name and numbers, if both name and number is given. So if name and num, then only we are going to delete that contact. So people equals to people, sorry, people name num remove contact. You need to pass that object we created, so remove contact people, and then just print successfully deleted. Okay, now what if one of these are given? So one either name or number is given, so use else and print these. Now you can just copy this one, right? Both name and number to delete the contact, and add it to delete the contact. Okay, done. Now there's one more condition. If len of contact is less than 0, which means there are no contact that names, we use else. Let's just copy this one, sorry, yeah, copy, paste it. So I guess this is it. Now let's check it with Control plus X, and I do Python contacts.py. Now let's try to add a contact, that is name, given for example, and number, let's say 987654. It's a successfully added. Now let's search for which is Python contacts.py -s, which is for searching. Name, you only need the name to search, so name okay, sorry for this. If we are printing it, then the curly braces are a better choice. And let's do dot format, and I think it's done. Now let's try to search for it again. Okay, so name number 987654, so it's working. Now let's try to delete this contact, right? So name number is 987654. Row value misused in 927. So delete from contacts where, oh sorry, so you need to provide and here, because the name and number both has to match for the person to be deleted. Now let's check again. So delete Uno and 987654 successfully deleted. If we try to search for Uno again, there are no contacts with that name. So I guess it's working fine. Now the next thing is you're doing python contacts.py. Instead of that, you need to only type contacts, sorry, contacts, and then pass the arguments like this. So for that, we are going to use PyInstaller. Okay, if you don't have it, you can always use pip install PyInstaller. Okay, requirement already satisfies because I already have PyInstallers. Let's install it. PyInstaller contacts, contacts.py. We're using the method called 1dir, which is it will create an executable for contacts.py and it will save it in one directory. You can also use one file, but it's very slow. I have checked it. So instead of that, you can do 1dir. Let's create the exe file of this Python script. It will take some time, so wait for it. Okay, so completed successfully. Now check the directory again. You'll see a directory called dist, and in that dist you'll see contacts. Okay, so let's just cd into dist slash contacts. Now if you try to find contacts, see in dist and contacts you have where is it, contacts.exe, right? This is the executable file that we need. So you just need to write contacts dash add name, should be the name. We have already deleted. Let's just add that number again, number 987654. Successfully added. Now let's search for this dashes name. Let's search for so you get the name and number 987654. So it's working perfectly. So yeah, it is. So thank you for watching the video. Hope you have learned how to create a simple CLI tool. Thank you.